What's up, everybody? Live on YouTube, not live on Periscope. You know, I decided to spend a little more time on YouTube and a little less time on Periscope because Periscope doesn't make me any money. And not only that, I actually do love a lot of people who watch from Periscope, but I don't necessarily remember the people who are on Periscope, like, because it's a lot more anonymous. A lot of those people are coming from Twitter, and not to direct it at you, but Twitter is not my favorite platform. Twitter is a platform that is very heavily censored, and it's very political, and they just crack down on people. And YouTube is also a little bit political, but Twitter is worse, I think. So I just sound all over the place, but I don't know if I want to always be giving business to Periscope. YouTube, on the other hand, I see it as more of like an investment to spend time on here, and I actually feel like I have a relationship with the people in YouTube in a different way than Periscope. So anyway, that's why today it's only YouTube. I hope that's okay with everybody. I'm gonna share this on Twitter too, though, in case anybody wants to switch over. Alrighty, 1 second. And I really like this girl, Sorella Moore. I talk about her way too much. She's on YouTube and Instagram. She's just so cool and talented, and like I really like her stuff. Alrighty. Live. Okay, tweeted it out. And let's see. Alrighty. So we got this tweet from Trump today. I'm gonna put it up on the screen and make sure you guys can see it. So Donald Trump is basically talking about this new alternative to Fox News. He's mad at Fox News. Watching Fox News is almost as bad as watching fake news CNN. New alternatives are developing. What is this new alternative? Everybody's talking about the new alternative. Could it be Trump TV? Or could it be another version of Trump TV that's called something different? It's true that new alternatives are developing, and it's true that a lot of people on the Trump campaign or on the Trump side are working to have like new outlets that will compete with Fox News. Will it be successful? Depends what your version of success is. They are being successful in that they are kind of like mini Fox News is. Like, you got Newsmax, you got OAN, you got a lot of these alternative, like, conservative TV stations. They are doing well. They're getting a lot of views. Hi, Sam. All right. So they're doing well, I think. If you watch some of the videos, they're not doing as well as they could be doing, but that's a different story. But they're doing well. People always want to watch stuff you put out on the internet, and I definitely encourage you guys to create content if you want to. You don't have to, but I encourage it because not only is it fun for you, but it's fun for me to have people that watch my stuff that then create their own content, and then, you know, like, if they blow up, it's like I have stake in it too. If you create content and then your stuff blows up and then you mention that you're a fan of my stuff, then that's great for me. So I like that. I'm not competing with anybody, and I want everybody to do well because that helps me also. And also, it just makes a much nicer world when everybody's happy and excelling at the things they do. Anyway, what up? Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's Eve, Paul. What up, Wally World? And I'm glad you liked the stream with Count Dankula. That was really cool. And he was really down to earth and fun. He was awesome. What up, Prodigal Heel? Thanks for your shout out in your video. And I haven't watched it yet, so I'm gonna check it out. The video about Wonder Woman on Prodigal Heel YouTube channel. Check it out, peeps. What up, Jim? Jim says, hello, Dr. Pardes. Make sure to give Pardes a like. What up, Sil? Hi. Yeah, like the video on YouTube. Not on Periscope, because this isn't on Periscope. So it's just us. It's more exclusive tonight, which is fine. I like exclusive. I like having a club. See, that's why I think the Jews are successful. The Jews and the Mormons, there are some different groups that are like more successful, like on average, than other groups of people. And I think part of it, I mean, you can say there's a lot, I'm sure there's a lot of things that goes into it. Maybe education or like valuing money and family and things like that. I think part of it also has to do with being exclusive. Like having a group of people that I am focused on and I want to give my all to this group of people, this like audience, and not just spread myself thin all over the place. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for the super chat. Says it's time to party like a rock star. Haha. Wally, my sister was too shy to come on the stream, but I'm gonna convince her to do it at some point. I'm not gonna say I promise because it's gonna take a little more convincing and I don't wanna like promise something that hasn't happened, but I'm gonna convince her. Like I know that I'm gonna convince her to come on this live stream and it's gonna be awesome when she does. Alvia says if I had a video stream, I'd have to hire someone. Oops. I'd have to hire someone to host it for me. Nobody would want to look at me. I don't know. You can't look too bad. I mean, look at Casey Neistat. That guy is like, you know, not to dunk on Casey Neistat, but that guy, you know, like, I've seen people, I mean, you don't have to be a girl or like a guy who works out to do well. I've seen people, there's this guy, I forgot his name, but he's on, I think, YouTube and Instagram, and he's really popular, and he's like a drunk hillbilly, and he's always drinking beer on his, he does live streams, he does videos, and he talks about nothing. The only thing that this guy, I don't know why, he's just so popular, and I love watching his stuff. I think part of it is just his energy. He's just so funny, and he's not even trying to be funny. It's just he's just getting on in this video in front of this camera and just drinking and just laughing his head off, going nuts. And so I'm sure he started off doing that without any viewers, but he's been doing this. I mean, he just does this like every day. It's all he does. He lives in somewhere random, and he's just getting on in front of his camera, and he just drinking and saying crazy shit, and that's how he became famous. So Superflow's man says it helps to be young and fit and attractive. Yeah, like I'm sure it helps, but what I'm saying is don't ever doubt if you want to, whatever you like to do, you know, there's always there is truth to when there's a will, there's a way. If you really want something, but you might not want it. A lot of girls naturally like to show themselves off. I like to show myself off. I don't have like a lot of times when I want to show my looks off because I'm not wearing anything interesting and I feel self-conscious, but like if I'm wearing something cute, I want to take a picture and show it off, like, or just go somewhere where I can show it off in public. So Prodigal Heel says being knowledgeable and entertaining is better than being fit and attractive. Yeah, and I'm sure it's different for like different platforms. You want to be fit and attractive for Instagram. And Sam says say more bad words. No, I'm not saying bad words. It's a bad word. although I do sometimes say it without realizing. I'd be Rippinin says, any chance we can discuss my farts tonight? I knew you wanted me to say that. That was bait. So, Superfluous says, Darwin of a Cod got popular on YouTube despite being dumpy-looking dudes, so you have a point. There's a lot of dumpy-looking dudes that got famous. A lot. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, so many dumpy-looking dudes have gotten famous. And I think part of the reason why women tend to be... Oftentimes, women will have not as interesting content is because they'll rely on the visual stuff. And so I think that's on the bright side. If you're a dude, you know the people actually want to listen to what you have to say and that your stuff is interesting and whatever. And sometimes even if you're not saying anything, sometimes just being confident and saying things that are just on your mind and honest are gonna do the trick. So yeah, why are we talking about this? Trump TV is a great example. Donald Trump is a great example of somebody who's, I mean, you can debate whether he's good looking or not. Personally, I would say a little bit dumpy looking, but I would totally watch Trump TV because Donald Trump is entertaining. Whether you like him or not, I don't care. I'm not even gonna say, I'm not gonna be one of those people who's like, personally, I don't support his opinions, but I, you know, there is one thing that I will say about him. He's like, no. Donald Trump is a very likable, lovable figure, and he's entertaining. He knows how to entertain. And the thing with the Trump campaign, actually, you guys know this because I'm about to say it, but nobody else knows this in the public. I used to work with the Trump campaign, so I know. So I would always say that if Donald Trump wins, it's going to be not with the help of his campaign, it's going to be in spite of his campaign. Because I think that Donald Trump is generally surrounded by a lot of people who are less talented than him. I don't think that Donald Trump necessarily won because of his policies. I think that that's kind of like an afterthought. People don't really, if you ask my mom, who's a Trump supporter, she's an immigrant, she doesn't know anything about politics. If you ask her, name one policy about that Donald Trump, she might say some things, but she won't be able to tell you a lot. Why do people like Trump? People like Trump because Trump, thank you, Jim. Trump is charismatic. He has a personality. Seems honest. And everybody else that my mom sees and that other people see, they look like liars. And they're right. These people's intuition is correct because most politicians are freaking liars and they suck. They're liars. They're fake. They come off as very like polished. And that's the kind of people that you find in DC. If you live in DC or you lived in DC, you know what I mean. Thank you, Ivory Rippinham. Thanks for the super chat. I'm not going to read your comment because I know you're trolling. Yeah, he's funny and fun. And before he became president, he was popular and people loved him. Everybody wanted to be friends with him. Everybody in Hollywood wanted to be friends with him. People in Hollywood suck. People in Hollywood and people who in DC are two sides of the same coin. They both, thank you, Sam. Thanks for the Happy New Year. And a few more bad words. Thank you. Paul Nye says Trump is the embodiment of the Sinatra song My Way. Yeah. Yeah, Trump is not a Hollywood or DC person. And people who live in DC and people who live in Hollywood two totally different places that care about different things, but they all care a lot about being popular and being like, they care a lot. They're both places where people care a lot about status. And they care a lot about being with the in-group and being accepted by the in-group. It's a certain type of personality that's attracted to that type, you know, that if you're like me, and I'm saying this as a compliment to myself, if you're like me, you will suffer in that kind of place because it doesn't vibe with you, because you're like, no, I don't want to get with the in trend. I want to do what I want to do. And in order to be fine and happy there, you have to be kind of fine with bending to the, or at least if you want to be successful, you got to be fine with bending to the leader and doing whatever the leader says. And like being, in order to be popular. Trump is a trendsetter. So he never had to really be part of Hollywood. I think that's why he was fine until now, until he went into politics. He lived in New York, he was doing his own thing. His Hollywood persona, he was never in Hollywood in order to, like, you know what I mean? He kind of always did his celebrity stuff, like, you know, The Apprentice, his TV show, and all the TV stuff that he did. He kind of did it as a side thing, while he focused on his real estate business. And so he never exposed himself to that culture. So that's why I think he was fine. Everybody wanted to do what he does, and all of Hollywood was kind of like trying to follow his footsteps. But I think once Trump entered politics, he was forced to be in DC, and someone with his personality is not going to do well in DC. You can't be a trendsetter if you're going to be in DC, because DC has a trend. DC is ruled by a bunch of stiff overlords. There's a ruling class. They're predominantly lefty, but they're establishment-y, and even the Republicans are going to follow their ways, and you have to, like, bow to the ruling class. That's the kind of place that DC is like. You can't be have a rogue personality when you're in a place like DC. And if this was something else where Trump could have been a president that was spent most of his time somewhere else, like in Florida or something, and was only like a side thing president, but never really had to be in DC and never had to interact with these people, I think he would have been fine. But that's not a thing. You can't be a president on the side while you're in other places. So I think that's what bit him, is that he was forced to be around these people, and he gave in so many cases. Like, he hired people who freaking hate him. He hired people to his cabinet. He hired people, as I was saying, people on the Trump campaign. If he had won, it would have been as I said, if he had won, it would have been in spite of the campaign, not because of the campaign. The campaign was full of, like, DC social climbers, people who actually hated him not because they actually hated him. Most people are dumb. They hated him because that was the cool thing to do, because they're DC people. Everybody in DC hates Trump. That's the cool thing to do. So the only reason they were working for Trump was because they thought that he probably would win or might win, and they wanted a place in the administration. 1 second. Thanks. I see these super chats. Whoa. You know what I realized? People in Hollywood, we suck. What up, Joe? Thank you so much, Joe. Some DC overlords. Thanks so much, guys. I realize that I get my live streams are so much more like when I don't do this on Periscope, I just enjoy these live streams so much more, and I feel like I get so much more, like, anyway. So sorry, I keep distracting myself with that. I think that Trump TV would be popular if it weren't just a bunch of Trump people. Like, Trump TV would be popular if it was just Trump. And everybody took the cameras off themselves and just made it about Trump. Like, I think it's great that a lot of people in Trump's circles are trying to create a platform. I want you to create a platform, and I want you to be big. But I think when it comes to Trump, if you want to represent Trump, you're more likely to hurt him than help him, because the people that are in right now in the political world in the political DC thing that are trying to represent Trump, they just make him look like a politician. I don't think that they help him. I really don't. Does it make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense. So what I'm saying is, someone who lived in DC, someone who has worked with his campaign, someone who has worked with a lot of the people who are creating Trump TV, I don't think they'll watch this, because I'm a nobody, you know? I'm just somebody who helped people with their production stuff, and someone who's just I just left it all so that I can just do my own thing. So I'm just saying this from an outsider's perspective, who has been on the inside. You're not helping Trump by creating Trump TV. You might help Trump by creating your own TV. And I think that you should do that. You should create your own platforms and talk about things. Be your own trendsetter. Stop riding on Trump's coattails, because you're not making Trump look good. You are, and there's so many people, these Trump advisors who are constantly trying to push him to do the establishment thing, to do the popular DC thing, to try and compromise with Democrats and try to look good by getting in with the CPAC conservatives and all these stuff. Those people are stuffy. Those people will complain about being called racist, and then they'll fire half their employees for saying a joke that was maybe a little bit too offensive. They're just as bad as the people they complain about. They're all a bunch of establishment DC hacks, and they're constantly licking the butts of people who are these lefty public figures. They're constantly licking those people's butts. They're just trying so hard to be Democrats. Just be a Democrat. I'm not gonna like you more if you're a Republican. Stop trying to be in with the trend. Stop trying to be trendy. If you want to be like Democrats, and this is another thing, yeah, Stefan, they're bootlickers. This is another thing, every time another, this is actually the classic example is the small town person who moves to Washington DC to be a conservative or a Trump supporter or something, and is they run on the platform of Trump. We're gonna be, Happy New Year, Alvius. Thank you so much. And so they have, the classic example is people who, these politicians, or even judges, even Supreme Court judges. You have people like Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy Coney Barrett, people who are appointed to stuff in DC, and they leave their small towns across the United States. They're appointed, or with politicians, they're elected by their constituents in order to push some sort of right-wing or conservative or, basically non-establishment, and they run on a non-establishment or sometimes anti-establishment wave, and they go to DC in order to speak they get elected to go to DC to provide a voice for their constituents who maybe feel like they're not being heard by Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. is very establishment lefty. Anyway, and they're not even that lefty. They're just establishment lefty. The lefties don't like them either. But these people go to DC, and immediately when they step foot in DC, they turn into a bunch of DC hacks. If you talk to the people who live in DC who are like being so, oh, this person is fringy, that person's fringy, this we don't want to associate with this person, we don't want to associate with you, and they're just so snobby and so obsessed with their image. And if you talk to these people, a lot of them are from small towns that are conservative, and they move to DC and are just so enthralled by they're so enthralled by the big cityness of it that they just want to be like that. And so that's something that I notice. It's funny that with the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court, from the Supreme Court justices, the only two people from the conservative side who actually voted to actually consider the possibility of voter fraud based on the evidence that they had was Clarence Thomas and Justice Alito. And all the people that Trump appointed, interestingly, voted against that. And I'm not saying that they should have voted for it, but, if they're a judge, they should vote for whatever they believe is the right thing to do. But we know there was actual audio of conversations that were, and we heard this from people who were staff that were in the room when Justice Roberts was talking to the conservatives on the court in a side room. We know that they had this conversation and they talked with each other, and the consensus among them was, oh, we don't want to get in trouble, basically we're gonna have to be on the court for a while, and if this doesn't work out, we don't want all the Democrats to come after us, and we don't want them to come and harass our families and endanger our careers. After this, we will have nothing left. If basically, and now this is my own words, basically, if we put ourselves on the line for Trump, they're gonna come after us. We won't have a career left to go to after this. We'd better not take the chance. And so the only people the only justices on the Supreme Court who actually wanted to give it a chance, wanted to give the case a chance, were people that Trump didn't even appoint. So all these people are being bootlickers, like Stefan says, and cowards. All these people are being trying to follow a trend. And not only have they been doing it, which has been hurting Trump in the ass, Trump has been doing it too. The fact that he appointed them and he didn't appoint someone that was even more radical or more on his side is proof that he's doing it too. He could have gone with the most based, the most right-wing, the most, I don't want to say right-wing, but you want to say authentically his fan, but instead, constantly, left and right, part of the reason why I left DC, constantly you're seeing, throughout these 4 years of Trump, you saw Trump kicking to the curb anyone that was too pro-Trump, that made him look bad. Because his PR, and I'm sure he didn't want to, I'm sure a lot of it was his PR people. The Trump campaign is definitely like this, and they were constantly trying to put words in Trump's mouth. So, I know that's not him, but, Jay Miller says it's a Federalist Society that's promoting these judges, but he was not there for the people that needed him. Yeah, last ditch, he was there for Roger Stone and Paul Manafort and whoever, Michael Flynn. But there were so many people who put their careers on the line for Trump, and they didn't get anything out of it. Why should anyone put their career in line for you if you're not gonna put your career in line for them? And I see your comment, Josh. Sorry, there were just so many comments, and I didn't want to I didn't want to lose my train of thought. But yeah, I see that. One second. Tulsi is leaving. Wait, Tulsi is leaving? Oh, thank you so much for your compliment. The one says, I freaking love your Twitter, just tuning in. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you like it. I had a weird, like, today, I had a weird, like, and Jason will know, I had a weird, like, oh no, meltdown, I don't know, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not providing any value to my, I'm not providing any value to my viewers. What am I even doing on here? And stuff like that. And so when I hear that like you like this stuff, and Jason has been extremely helpful. And so when I hear that that you enjoy, like, even Twitter, and especially like here, the live streams and stuff like that, it makes me really happy. Yeah. So, okay, so I guess she didn't run. Okay, so Tulsi didn't run for re-election. You can't be a real person who's fine with being in DC. And I know that I'm saying this, and a lot of my friends have stayed in DC. Yeah, my friends who have stayed in DC either are depressed. I know if you're watching this and you're one of my friends who lives in DC and you still live there, like, I'm not hating on you. I like really, really, really empathize with you, and I feel like I was just there. So I know how you're feeling. Depressed. I know you're feeling depressed, and I know you're probably either gonna admit it or you're not gonna admit it. A lot of people don't admit it, but it comes out, these feelings come out in other ways. There's only so much that you can suppress, and it comes out in other ways. It feels like, yeah. Jason says Pardes indeed has melt. That's not Jason, that's a different person. Haha. So, I think that Trump TV will be fine. And I worked at Fox, by the way, in case you didn't know. Go look at my Fox News video. I'm gonna include it in here. Fox News. The truth about Fox News that you knew but chose to ignore. I'm gonna include it in the description of this video. Watch my video about Fox News. Dun 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 dun. Ba-dum-ba-bum. Alrighty. So there, I included it. Watch my video about Fox News. And so I talked about Fox News, and I talked about the problem with Fox. And the problem with Fox is the same problem that is with DC. People come there with talent and with, like, a message that they want to give to the world, and then they oh, Carissa says, what is your opinion of, sorry, I have ADD. I'm not even kidding. Carissa says, what is your opinion of domestic discipline relationships? I am in one with my husband. What's a domestic discipline relationship? Domestic discipline relationship? A domestic relationship, domestic discipline is a practice between two consenting life partners in which the head of the household takes necessary measures to achieve a healthy relationship dynamic. The necessary measures to create a healthy home environment, protect all members of the family. Oh. Okay, so you have, like, one official person is designated as the head of household, and they make all the rules. So, interesting. I'm not opposed to that. I think it's, I think it's great if it works for you. And it actually, if you're okay with it, I think it's, oftentimes men are more decisive with a lot of things. So if you're fine with it and you're a woman and you want your husband to be the person making decisions, it's never really one person being in charge. It's always going to be two people. Like, if one person is really in charge, then so Carissa says the husband has a right to use spanking as discipline in a domestic discipline relationship. So it's like a kink. I mean, I don't know if it's a kink, but yeah, it sounds like it's kind of a kink. Like, it sounds like you want him to do that. So that doesn't sound anything between two consenting adults, and anything between two consenting adults, that's fine. Like, and I know it gets a lot of people off, so that's fine. I'm not opposed to it. Like, you just gotta be honest. Sometimes, I don't want to get too much into detail with this, but sometimes I see people who are like, I'm so depressed, like, my husband didn't whatever, and so they're like complaining about their spouses, and then you talk to them more, and then you realize that they don't actually not want their husband or wife to be that way. Like, you just gotta be honest with what kind of partner you want and what you like. And if you do choose to be in that kind of spanking relationship, you gotta be honest with your kids. Either don't do it in front of your kids, but if you do it, you have to be very clear to your kids that that's fine and that's what you wanted to do. Carissa says, if your man wanted a DD relationship, would you stay with him? I don't know. I'm not really into that. I'm not super into it, but I'm not like morally opposed to it. Like, if you want to do it, I'm fine with it. But with me, I like to kind of feel like a partner. And with the DD stuff, like, I wouldn't want to treat you the way that I wouldn't want to be treated, and vice versa. So, and I'm not really into like choking, spanking, whatever. I've had people like that and ask me to do stuff like that, but I'm not so into it. But I don't think that it's bad. Like, I don't think that you're a bad person if you're into it. And I don't think that you're weird or gross. I think it's very normal. I just like, for me, the way that I see relationships, do you hear that? The way that I see relationships is that, for me, I always wanted to be like a partner, and I wanted to be able to like play together. And sometimes there are some things that there are some things that I will not want to deal with, or that you can deal with, or whatever, so could talk about it. I think the key is just like open communication and being very honest with yourself and with the other person about what you like. And I really don't like these Title IX stuff that come in the way of relationships, where like, you're with a girl. It usually happens with guy, the classic story is guy, girl, they're at a bar, or they're at a party, they get drunk, the girl is like constantly trying to get with the guy, or at least giving him very clear signals that she wants to sleep with him, and then they do stuff, and then later the girl isn't drunk, and then the guy doesn't look as appealing to her anymore, and so she kind of regrets what she did, and then she's all like, ew, no, sexual harassment. And so she was drunk, but even when you're drunk, when you're honest with yourself about what you want, that stuff doesn't happen. Okay, so you gotta be always clear, or don't get drunk. If that's, if someone is drugging you, then you had no choice. But you can't voluntarily get drunk and then blame your actions on other people. And fine, let's not even talk about getting drunk in general. you can't like be wishy-washy about what you accept to in relationships too, because yeah. Anyway, and I'm not like anti-feminist. I'm not saying this to dunk on women. I think men do this a lot too. The classic example that men do is men will pay for things. Ooh, I have learned to never accept, or to at least like, okay, so if it's like like super chat, like, you know, it's very clear, like this is a very clear transaction, you know what I mean? Like you're paying super chat, you're paying for a super chat, you know, and but it's your choice to do it, and it's your control, and your comment shows up on the top, at the top of the box. It's like you know exactly what's going to happen, and I think in real life interactions, a lot of times you don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of guys will be like, hey, let me buy you a drink, and they'll like want to buy, they'll meet some random woman they don't know very well, and they'll want to buy all these things for her, and thinking, or at least expecting in some way, that she's going to want to come home with him, and she doesn't. In her mind, she's just, and maybe she does, but the terms aren't made clear. So you're basically just wasting your time. Sam, thank you for the very clear transaction. Oh, 1 second. I'm just gonna go back to the page so I can, some of your comments aren't being like aren't showing on the screen. So I have to just make sure that anyone whose comments are being censored by YouTube is able to. Some of the stuff that YouTube censors is so random. Like, why are they censoring this? Conscious type person says, okay. Conscious type person says, so my wife recently gave birth to our soon, but I recently raw dogged a well-known porn star. I'm running for office. I'm worried how this will impact the election. What do I do? To our son, you meant, and I'm assuming you're talking about Trump. I don't know, dude. I don't know about Trump's sexual life. My point about Trump stuff, and I know there's some people on here who are not Trump people, my point about Trump stuff is that I think Trump is going to do really well on TV with his own show and his own stuff, and he needs to like get rid of the political people that are weighing him down. He needs to get rid of all the even like people in his family. Like, a lot of people in his family they're really good at what they do, but they're not the same as him. So if he's coming on there and saying edgy stuff and becoming famous and popular for saying edgy stuff, his family members aren't necessarily going to have the same effect because they're different people. So they should focus on I don't know, their brands. Ivanka should focus on, and she does, I think. Ivanka should focus, and it's really hard because they've all kind of become pigeonholed. His family members and people who work for him have all become pigeonholed because of him, or because they work for him. They're now like too controversial and fringe to do whatever else they were doing before this. They've lost all their businesses, they've lost everything, so now they're kind of forced to be just on the same boat as him. But I think that they should try to go back to what they were doing before. Now they've got more I think they should more focus on their own brands, is what I'm saying. And everyone's just focusing too much on Trump for their brand, and I don't know if that's good for anybody, because Trump's brand is his own, it's very unique, and he's gonna do well. Trump TV is gonna do well if it's Trump who's in charge. It's not gonna do well if it's a bunch of DC people or, you know, Here, let me show you an example. And I'm going to read your comments. Sorry. I just want to show you this one. All right. This is an example of one of the shows that they had. It's like a pro-Trump show. Why isn't it getting bigger? Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, you see it? It's kind of like, I don't know, you decide. They're so nice, by the way. I'm not shitting. I don't want to shit on them. These people are really nice. Laura is, she's an angel. She's very sweet, and anyone who has issues with her is a monster. Like, if you know Laura and if you have problems with her, you're a monster. She's just a nice lady. She got a bunch of kids. Eric is a nice dude. They got like, okay, but like, look at this thing. They have this show. It's called The Right View. The Right View. It's a TV show.
And I'm so excited tonight to be joined by a group of people who need no introduction, but let's do it anyway. Kimberly Guilfoyle, Senior Advisor and Trump Victory Finance Director. Dr. Gina Loudon, who is a senior anchor and the president of programming at Real America's Voice News, as well as someone who really we have never seen on The Right View, has never been part of Team Trump Online, but you all know him, you all love him, my husband, Eric Trump. Eric, thanks for joining us, and thank you, ladies. You picked a good time to join us.
I did. She was going to divorce me if I didn't come on.
So here we are. I want to jump in and start today, guys, by talking about the COVID or coronavirus, I guess, stimulus bill. Now, it's
yeah. So that's the only clip I had. So it's a piece of their show, and they're gonna do more like that. And I think it's great. Like, I think it's great that they're doing it. I'm not just saying this to be nice. I actually think it's great that they're doing it. And they should keep doing it, but also they should also keep doing whatever they were doing before. Like, they need their own brand. Ivanka needs to get her own brand back. Like, I think it's silly that she gave up her brand in order to do this political stuff. She's not a political, that's not her thing. She needs to go back and do her own, have her shoe line and her clothing line and whatever. Don't, like, suddenly start acting like a bunch of humanitarian, diplomats. Dude, do what you were doing. Stick to your brand. These people all need to stick to their own brands. They can't have, like, a brand that's just focused on Trump. Because I get it. Like, I get it that you lost a lot of business, or that you're afraid of losing business if you try to go back out in the world as your own person, now that your name has been shamed by being associated with Trump. But trust me, this stuff is gonna die down. Yesterday's fringe is today's mainstream. Remember how people hated Bush, and now the left, now all these Hollywood people are like, oh, Bush. Like, they're acting like he's popular or something. They're acting like they didn't totally just berate him the whole time that the Bushes were in office. So you become mainstream. Trump people are mainstream in some ways already. It's Trump's base that isn't mainstream. Does that make sense? Trump himself is already becoming mainstream, or has already become mainstream in a lot of ways. Trump's base has been thrown to the side. They've been ridiculed. Fox News, Fox News is mainstream in a lot of ways. Fox News, their brand is that your brand can't be that your brand can't be that you're just like an outsider, because what happens when you become so popular? You're suddenly like an insider. Fox News's brand and Trump's brand was so focused on, like, we're the right-wing oppressed side and everything. And then when all these other oppressed right-wing networks are like, we're the right-wing, like, that network that's being silenced. And then when all these other networks that are being silenced pop on the scene, they just try to, like, kill competition, and they try to kick you down. They call you racist or this or that, whatever the establishment type people call people that they don't want competing with them. they're gonna act the same way that Fox News acts. And Trump TV is gonna be the same way. I'm telling you, Trump TV is gonna be the same as Fox and whatever, if he doesn't focus on it being his own brand. Mainstream is marginalized. People on Twitter are going nuts. Haha. Yeah, so that's what I think about Trump TV. I think that the internet people, I think, are the best. If they keep their shows on the internet, I think they'll be fine. But I think it would be golden if Ivanka brought her clothing line back, and all these people had their own stuff also, because Trump is so different and unique from the rest of his family and the people that he worked with, that I think he would do much better when he's on his own, or if he's completely in charge of whatever he's doing, because all these people, I think, just get in the way. They really do. And they got in the way for 4 years. I think that Trump was fine being himself. He won the first time not with the help of his campaign. His campaign didn't think he would win. They were just in it for the ride. And then the second time, his campaign had just enough power by that time and influence over him that they were able to get him to stop being himself and to stop talking as freely as he would normally do. The enemy of perfection is, the enemy of good is perfection, right? Like, the enemy of good is perfect. When you're in a new, like, in the beginning, he had nothing to lose. He was himself. He said whatever he wanted. He was like, we're going to do this. We're going to build a wall. We're going to blah, 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 blah. And then, of course, you got the haters and whatever. Who gives a shit about them? But then the second time, he was like, oh, like, we might actually win. So now there's more to lose. So now we have to be perfect. And so then he started listening more to his advisors and people who work for him. And he also didn't do a lot of the things that he promised he was going to do, or at least he didn't go all the way, because he was just so focused on trying to be perfect and trying to please everybody. And you're not going to please anybody when you try to please everybody. If you don't try to please everybody, then at least you'll please some people. But when you try to please everybody, you're not going to please anybody. So, blah. Trump in the comments says, please support my presidency. Pardes, you're my favorite live stream. Oh, man. I don't even want to say what I think about January 6th or whatever they're going to have, or 5th, when they have the vote in Georgia. I don't even know. I don't know what's going down. I kind of like, I mean, no offense to Trump's administration, but am I supposed to care? Am I supposed to care when the administration, like, I do care, but am I supposed to care when they let people down in so many ways? Like, with the lockdowns this year, I mean, they put everybody on house arrest. They shut down all these businesses. They allowed Democrats to push communism and do this whole, like, welfare redistribution thing. I'm not mad that they're giving everybody $600. I'm mad that they needed $900 billion to do that, and they're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other stuff, and a lot of it going to the individual pockets of bureaucrats in government and to other countries. It's money laundering. They're sending it to their pet projects in Sudan and Pakistan and whatever countries, and they're not going to actual people that need it. They're being politicians about it. And Trump went along with it because he wanted to please Democrats and because he wanted to show that he can pass the thing. Don't pass anything. People don't want you can't do things in order to please people. And if you're a politician, I get that the temptation is there, and everybody wants everybody wants to try and please once they're a politician, and that's the game and whatever. But guess what? Trump won by not being a politician. That is what people are looking for. And then Trump turned into a politician, and that's why he didn't win. I actually do think that there's a chance that there wasn't voter fraud, and that maybe people were disillusioned that Trump actually didn't win. Like, maybe they were disillusioned that Trump is a politician now. He is just sucking up to all these DC people who think they know better. No, they don't know better. Their lives suck. They're depressed. They're all drug addicts. All these people are drug addicts. They're like demons. I don't even believe in demons. They're demons. Like, you look at their eyes and they're dead, and they don't have any passion for life or anything. Like, dude. This message is held for review. This message is held for review. January 6th. I actually, all your messages are being held for review. All your comments are being held for review. The only reason that one of them showed up is because I clicked the uncensor button. I don't know how the algorithm even catches that. Dude. Wally World says, I went to Trump rallies in Pennsylvania. There was huge excitement. I don't know. I am very disillusioned. But it's a good thing that I'm not in charge of anything, because, like, I hope I'm wrong. And I hope that everything that I have been saying for the past month or whatever is wrong, and that we are gonna be fine. And that our country, people start to value freedom a little bit more, and they stop, and like a meteor hits Washington DC somehow. And so yeah, if you want to create your own YouTube channel or your own TV station or TV show or whatever, I support you doing it. I support Trump having his own show. Maybe he'll let me be on his show. And I don't want to talk about politics on Trump's show. I don't. If I was on Trump TV, I would not want to talk about politics. I would want to be like the chick who is like, I'd want to be playing piano. I'd be like the chick in the intro, like, and I'll wear like a nice shiny dress and whatever, and they'll be like, and now the show is beginning, and I'll be like, playing piano. Yeah, I would not want to talk about politics, because the only person who should be talking about politics on Trump TV is Trump. And if there's someone else that he's talking to, just there as a prop for him to grill and mock and make fun of. Like, not people who are trying to be Trump, because you will not succeed. Oh. Wally World says, talk about real estate. Trump loves real estate. I love real estate too. And I love real estate. I think that that's I think that any form of like passive income is amazing, but I also love real estate because it's actually fun. Like, even the involvement that you have with real estate is fun. You get to build things and make them look nice and see, like, it's more tangible. It's a little more stable than other kinds of, like, investments. Like, my YouTube channel can disappear in one day, but I mean, also I would be doing this anyway, but like, my YouTube channel can disappear, but real estate stuff, that's stable. It's kind of hard to get into it in the beginning, but once you start, and I'm gonna do more videos about starting off and getting involved in real estate. You don't have to have a lot of money to begin with. I certainly don't have a lot of money to begin with. Otherwise, you don't have to have a lot of money to begin with. There's ways to kind of get your feet in, like, little by little. And I have been in a weird, like, freaking out about money rut because I'm always worried about money, but real estate is great if you just keep doing it. And I think so. I'm gonna make some videos about it. So just don't listen to anything I just said. Too late because this is live, but don't listen to anything I said. Josh said, did you get my video? I also sent the one where I interviewed Roaming Millennial. I don't know where you, are you sending it to Instagram? I didn't see your videos. Prodigal Heels is my next video is going to be shadow banned. What do you guys think about hosting videos on your own website? And I know I talked about this with Jason. What do you think about hosting videos on your personal website instead of on like YouTube or something like that? Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum. Josh. Oh. Yeah. This is the most recent ones. Okay. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah. I see it. I'm going to watch it. Thank you very much. Wally World says my son was in Philly when when he voted there. He said no one was voting at the polling station, and he saw a total of 3 people voting. Yet record turnout in Philly. Ha. Interesting. Nice. Josh says only problem is that you have to pay for your own bandwidth. Ooh, Prodigal Heel says I'm going to Telegram. Okay, so I gotta learn a little bit more about how that works. I'm not at that stage yet, but at some point I want to move everything to my own website, and so I'll tell you how that goes. Seawall, Prodigal Heel says I'm gonna start playing the stock market. I don't know. I don't think you're allowed to give investing advice apparently. But I will say that I invested in Tesla, and I invested at a time when everybody was like, don't do it. Ew, that's stupid. Tesla's nothing. And oh boy, did I get some great returns. So, like, trust your instincts and just keep doing what you're keep trying different things. Alrighty. That I'm gonna watch the Roaming Millennial interview, and see you all later. I love. Cool. Okay, see you all later. Like this video if you haven't already. See you all tomorrow. We got a video coming up tomorrow, edited video, and then of course live stream. So. See you all. Happy New Year's Eve. If not, I'm actually not sure. I'll keep you updated about tomorrow night's live stream. Happy New Year's Eve. See you all tomorrow. Bye.